Hello and welcome to today's Bitrix24 webinar, Perfect Project Management. Thank you for joining today. Who are we, first of all? My name is Sam Connor. I'm a sales engineer here at Interface, and we are Bitrix24 Gold Partners. We're based here in the UK, in New York and Hong Kong, and what we are able to provide is a full range of services to help you with Bitrix24, starting off with pre-sale support. So what we can do is discuss your requirements in detail and provide a bespoke demonstration. If you feel Bitrix is a good fit for your organization, we can then set up and implement your requirements on the software. For a self-hosted edition, we can provide hosting services and we can provide you with ongoing dedicated support and training to really help you get the most out of Bitrix24. Okay, so if you're new to Bitrix24 and you've joined the Perfect Project Management webinar today to gather more information, Bitrix24 is a collaboration suite of well in excess of 35 plus tools that aid you in managing your organization. And specifically today, we're going to be looking at the project management and task features of Bitrix24. There are over 8 million organizations around the world that now use Bitrix24, and the system is available in both a cloud and a self-hosted edition. And prices start from $19 for a cloud subscription license, and the self-hosted is available starting off from $1,490 for a self-hosted edition. Okay, so first of all, it's a really important question. Why use Bitrix24 for your projects? So Bitrix has the ability to create project work groups where you can bring users together for collaboration. Within those, you can manage tasks. So it has a very powerful task management feature that you can enable inside your projects for bringing people together to work on tasks. And this can include external users that we'll look at shortly. So you can invite people who are not part of your organization. If they are working with you, say your clients or suppliers, you can feed them into projects who are then able to access tasks inside the system. We also have project automation, so we can automate the creation of projects and also the automation of activities inside a task at certain stages of the task process. We'll also see how we can view all of the information in projects through the reporting features and the Gantt chart displays to easily see and get a good, clear overview of all of the tasks that are associated to a project. And in terms of the external user feature we've mentioned, so you can invite in your clients and suppliers, for example, those people who are not internal users on your Bitrix24 system. You can have as many external users inside a project as you like. All you need to make sure you have is either a commercial license or a self-hosted edition of Bitrix24. Okay, so first of all, today we're going to have a look at the project groups. So we're going to look at how we can invite users into a project and look at the different features from task management using the Kanban board, if we're able to collaborate through chats and the activity stream, and we'll look at some additional features such as the calendar management and document sharing functionalities. So first of all, let's have a look at how we can create a brand new project in the Bitrix24 system. Okay, so we have just logged in to our Bitrix24 system. And the area we want to go if we want to create a brand new project is what we call the workgroups section. Okay, so within the workgroup and project section, I can see all of the work groups and projects that I am associated with. And if I want to now create a brand new group in the system, I just need to go to the create button here. That's now opened up a new slider where we can create work groups or we can create projects. Now it's important to understand the difference here between a work group and a project. So a project has a start date and an end date. So you have some time parameters on a project. And within the project, we can then create tasks. And the key difference here is with the project, all of those tasks, they have to have an end date that is either before or on the project end date. You can't have a task go beyond the end date of the project. Whereas in a work group, you don't need to have a start and an end date for that group. It can just be a prolonged group, for example, a department work group that is everlasting. And then within there, you can have tasks that can have any deadline within the system. So if you have a project, then you have time parameters where you have a strict deadline to complete that specific project. You should be using the project functionality here. And we have different types of projects in the system. So first of all, you can have an open project. And an open project is where anybody within your Bitrix24 system, they can access that project. So this is an open area for collaboration with the rest of your team in Bitrix24. You can also have a private project. And this is where you invite in specific people. So this is invite only. So this is a secure area where you can bring those groups of people who are working on a project. And you can also have an external project. And on an external project, this is where you can invite in really your third parties, the users who are not part of your internal Bitrix24 system. Usually this would be, for example, clients or suppliers who you're able to then invite in into the project. And as we've mentioned, you can have an unlimited number of external users in your projects. Okay, so let's go through now and create a project. So I've clicked on the private project page, and that's now opened up the area where we start to design the project or work group in the system. And inside here, we can now start to input all of the information about the project that we are creating. Okay, so first of all, what we can do is we can give this project a title. So we can give this project a name. So inside here, I'm going to give this a title. And underneath, you can add a description. So if you wanted to add details about the project and the group, so the users, when they're coming into this, they already know about what that project is about and why they have been invited. You can also upload an image that is associated to the project. And because we select the project, here we've got our start and our end date. So this is where we can now start to add those time parameters into the project. And then further down here, we have different levels of hierarchy in the project. So first of all, we can have a project owner who they are the overall responsible person for the project. You can then also have moderators. So this is very much like your middle layer of management. And then we can invite in additional users who are going to be working on this project. So that could be either individual people, we might want to add departments who are then going to be working in this particular project. I could also add a project subject. So I'm going to choose a subject for that particular project. And then we can start to add the features that we want to have installed into the project. So within here, we can select what particular features we would like to enable for this particular project. And this is a really useful feature within the Bitrix24 system. For every single work group or project that you create, you can decide which features you want to turn on or turn off. for every single work group or project. So for example, we may want to manage tasks. So I'm going to turn on the task feature. And I might also want to store some documents inside here. So I'm going to turn on the drive feature. And it's important that I can communicate instantly with the rest of the project team. So I'm going to turn on the chat feature. So it's really easy to customize what features are available in any specific workgroup or project that you are using. And then from there, I'm going to create this particular project. So I've received that notification, and that's now accessible inside here. So the perfect project management group has been created, and you can see here it's added those different features. So we added tasks, the drive, and the chat. That's now being created, and we have a general area which adds all of the information about the project and the area we can communicate with the rest of the team. Okay, so that's how you can create new projects in the Bitrix24 system. And if I just go back into here, you can then see all of those different work groups and projects you're associated to. Okay, so if you ever had a lot of projects in here, you do have the ability to filter and find those. So you have a free text area where you can search or filter, and it's just brought up that perfect project management group that we had created. But let's go into a work group, or sorry, a project that has lots of details and information so we can see what this will look like. Okay, so we've just come into BizTech projects. So now let's start to walk through some of the different features of a live and up and running project here. But first of all, before we go into these different modules here, I just want to explain on the right-hand side, inside the project area, you can see the details about that project. So you can see the owner, those different assistants, and any other users of the project. You can see the start and the end date. So all of the critical information about that project, it's all accessible inside the project homepage here. And within this section as well, we can set access permissions for the project. And this is where that we mentioned about the different layers of management when we were creating our project. This is where that comes in very useful. So what we can do throughout the different areas of the project is we can set the access rights. So for example, at the top here, the users allowed to invite to the project. We may say, for example, only the project owner can invite new people into the project. Or maybe the project owner and the moderators are able to invite people. So that middle layer of management, we're allowing them to have this level of access rights. So you can customize this for the invitation of members, for tasks, for conversations and comments and posts. You can customize exactly who is able to have those access rights on every single workgroup and project that you create. Okay, so let's just go through some of those different features in the system here. So first of all, we've got our general area. So inside here, what we can do is we can go in and add a new message to the rest of the team. So it's an area where you can post and add comments and information. You can also attach and upload documents and details, and that would then get posted into the activity section here. And within here, users can like, they can comment back. So you're able to collaborate with any other people who send posts into the system. So it allows for that great collaboration with any other people on the project. Okay, and then moving on to tasks, this is a really fundamental area of the project management tool within Bitrix. So first of all, we can see all of our tasks in the system. And you can see tasks in many different ways. So first of all, we have the list view here. So I can see all of the tasks in the system. And the actual grid that we are displaying this list in, this can be customized, so I can change the layout and structure of this. I can customize what information is being displayed. And I've got a filtering system in here as well. So I might want to filter on certain tasks, maybe based on the stages or the status, or maybe by who's responsible. So it's very easy to filter into any tasks that had been created in the project. We've mentioned there's different ways you can view tasks. So here, for example, is the deadline view. So I can go through here and see, I think this is a really useful view. You're able to see exactly where the tasks are in correlation to the deadline of those tasks. So this is useful to be able to then prioritize what you should be working on at any given time in the project. And on any of these different displays that you see here, you can click into any of those tasks and it will open up the task page. So that gives you the breakdown of all the information about that specific task inside the system. So inside here, I can see we've got some items, we've got some checklists, and there's still some checklist items that need to be completed. And further down here, we also have a comments area. So we're able to really target our communication. So I can see all of the comments associated to this specific task inside the system. And this is really useful. So rather than having to go to lots of different areas for communications, on every single task page, you can focus your communications for that specific task. And when you want to create tasks, you have the new task section here. And so you can create a brand new task from scratch, or you can also use task templates. So you can populate templates with information, and I can then click on that and it will bring through all of that information. So if you've got details, if you've got checklists that you want to use, you can have that information readily available for when you want to create a new task. And you can also automate the recreation of tasks. So actually, I could repeat this task maybe every month. And that's quite a common feature for some businesses, say, such as accountants. They have tasks that need to be completed every single month throughout the year. So you could use the repeat task feature to have that task recreated every month in the project. Okay, so that's another view. The deadline view there. There's also the planner view. So this is basically your very own task management view here. So all of these stages that you can see, you can add as many stages into here as you like. And this is your own area. So I can move my tasks into these different areas. So I'm going to start the comms story next week. And that doesn't affect any other user in the project. This is your very own personal task management page. We also have the calendar display, so we can see based on the deadlines of our tasks where they are in a calendar format. There is also the Gantt chart view. So inside here, I can see the Gantt chart of all of those tasks in the system, and the red line here indicates the deadline. So this is a really nice way to quickly see how close we are from a task to being past its deadline in the system. And the last way we can view those tasks is using the Kanban view here. So this is the overall task Kanban display. So we can see the stages that we have for our tasks in this particular project. Those stages can be customized, so we can configure exactly how many stages there are in this particular project. And we can then progress those tasks through those different stages like so in the Kanban view. Okay, so that's a look at tasks in the system, and we'll be coming back later into tasks to look at the automation features. There's also the calendar inside here, so this is another feature you can turn on or turn off. So we have a calendar where we can see all of the particular meetings and maybe updates across the project for our project management team. So it's a really nice way to quickly view a calendar directly inside the project. There is also a drive module in here, so we can store documents and files that are associated to this particular project. And within any of these folders and files, we can also set permissions. So you might want to actually restrict who's able to access certain folders or documents within the drive in the project. So for example, in this particular financial folder, only the group owner and the moderators have access to this. And we can also customize actually what level of access rights they have inside that particular folder. So that's quite a useful feature when we look at the external user later on in the webinar. So you might want to only share certain documents with an external user, so we can set those access rights on those documents. We also have lists. Lists are a way of basically storing data associated to a particular project. So a very common one could be expenses, for example. So inside here, we can see all of the expenses that are associated to this particular project. And what we can also do is we could run a business process. So you can see here, for example, the status of an expense. So what you can do is you might have an approval process. So for example, if a new expense is submitted in that particular list, we might want to set up a workflow. So once a new expense is added, it's going to go to the project manager to either approve or to reject in the system. And if it's rejected, we're going to notify the person who submitted that expense to notify them that the expense has actually been rejected. So we can build workflows off any list inside the project. We've also got the chat system here, so you're able to instantly chat with the rest of your project team. So I can instantly communicate. You can also do video calling and voice calling with your project team. So this is a lot of different ways that you're actually able to communicate with other members of your project team. And it doesn't have to be with actually everybody in the project. You might actually want to just discuss a conversation with maybe one of the people within your project. You can then set up a personal message with that particular user as well. Okay, and from the chat there, we've also got a wiki page. So if you wanted to add blogs or articles, we have a wiki feature inside the project as well. Okay, so that's a look at some of the different features available in projects. We mentioned as well about having external users. So you can invite in your clients and suppliers into particular projects. So I just wanted to show you what this feature would look like. So we've just logged it now into another user, Tara Green, and this is an external user in the project. So BizTech project, an external user. You can see on the left-hand side, they don't have the same access as we have as an internal user. So they don't have access to the CRM system, any of the marketing tools, for example. They solely have access to the particular projects that they have been invited into. But within that project, if you set up those permissions, they're able to communicate with you. They might want to share tasks and information. So we can go into the task area and see what tasks they're associated with. We might have shared some documents with them. So we can see here the documents that have been shared. And you can see here, for example, compared to that internal user, there is a lot less information that's been shared with that user here in the Drive module. So we can really restrict what level of access that external user has within a project, but we still allow them to collaborate and gain an input into that particular project. Okay, so that's a look at a project group inside the system. Just before we move on, if there are any questions, please do add them into the chat box and we can run through those as we go through the different intervals in the webinar today. Okay, so just a question here. So can a user be notified via an email if a chat comes in? So yes, absolutely. That's a standard notification setting that you can enable in the system. So on any project, we can set notifications. So we can go into here and enable notifications. And within here, you can customize exactly how you receive notifications. So there are 3 different ways you can receive a notification in Bitrix. So the first is directly in the Bitrix24 system. So you'll receive a notification in the top right-hand corner. You can also receive an email notification. So that would answer your question there. So you can receive a new email notification. Or Bitrix24 also has the mobile app. So you could receive a push notification to a mobile device. So if a new message is added into a chat, you might want to receive that as a push notification. So you don't need to be directly on the portal area here to be able to message back. You could respond to that chat directly from the mobile application. Okay, so if there are any other questions, please do add them into the chat box and we can run through those as we go through the webinar. Okay, so that's a look at an individual project group. Now let's have a look at the automation features that are available inside Bitrix24. And these are really useful features because it allows you to have a really solid structure when you are creating projects. So for example, what we may want to do is rather than manually creating a project like we saw, we might want to automate that activity. So we're constantly having the same tasks or the same users added into projects. So that gives us a very solid structure and no way that we can interpret errors into creations of a project. So what we can do in Bitrix24 is we can create workflows. So maybe at certain stages of maybe a new business being won, you might want to have a new project created where we bring certain people and create certain tasks based on the type of tender, for example, that's been won. So let's have a look in the CRM system to see how we can automate the creation of a brand new project inside the system. Okay, so we're going to go into our CRM system and we're going to go into the company section to see how we can create a new project. Okay, so we'll come into our company section and we're going to go into the TechCo page. Okay, so we're inside one of our companies in the CRM. And a good example to show you how this would work is, for example, maybe we've just won a new sale with TechCo. So we've got a new business and we now need to bring a group of people together to actually start working on different tasks that need to be performed on this particular sale with this organization. So rather than having to manually create those tasks, bring the people together, make sure you're actually bringing the correct people together, we could streamline that process. So I'm going to create this process within the process design section here so I can select the workflow that I want to run. And we've created a project form here. So first of all, I need to add information about this project into this particular form that we have created. The form itself, you can customize this. So you might want to add maybe different fields of information. You can completely customize what information needs to be inputted, what's mandatory information. So you can see the name is mandatory before this workflow can be initiated. So this is completely customizable. So first of all, I'm going to add a name for this particular project. So the company is called TechCo, so I'm going to call the start of this project TechCo. I'm going to say TechCo New Business. And then I need to select a manager for who's going to be owning this particular project. So I'm going to select them in the system. And then also maybe I'm going to select a project type. And based on that type, we could then run certain types of a workflow. So it could be project A, there's going to be certain tasks that are going to be created and added to this project. Whereas if I selected project B, there may be a different selection of tasks that are then added into the project. So it may be different types of business here, for example. So I'm going to select project type A, and that's now initiated the workflow in the system. So I'm going to go to our workflow section, and I can see now it's automatically created a new workflow task that I now need to approve or reject. So I'm going to go into our start section, and we can see here an approval required for TechCo. So first of all, it's added that information into the system for me, and I now need to add an estimated completion date for that particular project. So I'm going to add that into here, and I'm going to accept the project, and that's now going to create that project in the system for the team. So I've accepted that project, and if we go into our workgroup section, we can see TechCo new business has now been created. And we can see today here it has brought different members from our business into this particular project. It's added all of the different modules here that we want to add. And if we go into the task section, it's also brought and created 3 tasks that need to be completed in this particular project. So this is really useful if you have a lot of tasks, maybe continuous tasks that need to be created when a new business opportunity is won. You could create a workflow in the system, so all of that is streamlined for you. So it gives you a structure for every single project that you create. So if you have repetitive tasks, those can be automatically created when you need to have a new project running in the system. Okay, so that's a look at the front end of that workflow. Let's just take a look now at the workflow designer and how that has been created inside the system. Okay, so let's go into our project and the business process. So this is what we call the process designer. And this is where we can build workflows that can then be run in the front end of this system. For this project workflow, first of all, we were inputting information. And once we inputted that information, the work group here on the left-hand side is created. We're going to add the different members into that work group. And then we had that condition. So we had to select if the project was a project type A or a project type B. And then based on that information, we then created certain types of tasks. So if we created project B, it would have created different tasks within that project. And then from there, we've created the project in the system. So this workflow here is completely customizable. This is one we have created. We might want to add different tasks into here. Maybe we might want to send an email to everybody in the system once the work group has been created. So you can really customize these workflows using any of the action blocks on the right-hand side of the project workflow here. Okay, so let's look at how we can create a project group directly from a company in the CRM system. Another type of automation is actually inside the tasks itself. So let's go back into our BizTech project and look at the task automation that we can run. Okay, so we've come back into the BizTech project and we're now in the task module. And we mentioned earlier on about how we have a Kanban view and we can then progress tasks through certain stages to complete them. Now, for every single project that you create, you can customize the stages for that project there. So what I can do is, for example, if I go into all of our projects here, if I go, say, into our TechCo new business project, you can see the stages at the top here are completely different to those of our BizTech project. So you can customize the stages for every project. And what we can do using automation is we could run automation rules at every single stage of the task. So for example, inside here we can see we have different types of automations that are going to be run. So for example, when the task is in progress, we're going to notify all participants and we're going to send an email to the responsible person to let them know the task has been moved to the in progress stage. And with any of these automations, we can choose when that automation is run. So it may be immediately, it could be, for example, in 5 minutes or in 5 days. You can customize for every single action you create here, how quickly that action is run in the system. And we also have triggers at the top here. And a trigger will automatically update the stage of the task based on a certain condition being run. So a really good example of this is using the overdue trigger. So if you set a deadline on a task, and if that task is not completed by the deadline, it then becomes overdue. And because that task is overdue, we're going to automatically move that task into the urgent stage. So that is automated. So it may be, for example, it's currently in progress, the task passes its deadline and it's still not completed. It then automatically jumps to the urgent stage. And based at the urgent stage, we've then also got some automation rules in place. So we're changing who is responsible for this particular task. So it's going to go to Max Smith. So that could maybe be the project manager or a senior manager on the project. So they can now start to get this task back on track. So that's a really good example of how we can blend triggers and automations during your tasks in a project. And the automation rules, just to be aware, you do need a professional cloud edition to access this feature, or any self-hosted edition of Bitrix24 will have this feature. So it's a really powerful feature that you can use in your projects. And just to mention as well, in every project you run, we've mentioned how the stages can be different. The automation rules, because those stages are different, can also be completely customized as well. So for every project you run, the task stages and the task automations can be different for every single project. Okay, so that's a look at the automation features available in the system, from automating projects to automating activities inside your tasks. Okay, let's just see what questions we have. Okay, will there be a recording available? Yes, absolutely. There will be a recording of this sent out to you. Will be within 24 hours of the webinar being completed. You will receive an email with a recording of the webinar. Okay, another question come through. Can you make group video calls? Yeah, absolutely. So we've mentioned how you can do instant chats in the system. You can also do instant video calls as well. So there's 3 different ways you can communicate in your projects. That can be either through instant chats, you can also do video calling, and you can do voice calling. And that can be with individual people from your project. It could be with everybody within the project. It could be department calls, for example. So you can customize the audience who is in that particular conversation. But there are 3 different ways. It's instant chats, voice calls, and video calls. So those are the 3 different ways you are able to communicate with the people in your project. Okay, if there are any other questions, please do add them into the chat box and we can continue to run through those. We'll bring you on to the Extranet features. We looked at this briefly earlier on. So the Extranet site, it allows you to bring in your clients and suppliers, for example. For any of those people who are not internal users on your Bitrix24 system, you're able to invite into an Extranet site. And again, through the permission structure that we mentioned earlier on, you can then decide what features they're able to access in that particular project. So we can then see what those features are here. It may be important for you when they log into the system, it may need to be branded. With the self-hosted edition of Bitrix24, we can rebrand the login page. So if you want to have your corporate branding and information on that login page, then you can add that detail into a self-hosted edition. So when they log in, it's with your corporate branding, and then they can feed into those particular projects in the system. And as we mentioned, there is no limit to the number of external users that you can have on that project. So that's a really powerful tool within the Bitrix24 project management application. Okay, then moving on to the self-hosted benefits of the system. We've just mentioned one there about being able to have a branded portal. So if you're inviting external clients and users, with the self-hosted edition, we can rebrand the login page that can have your corporate branding and identity, which may be a very critical aspect for your organization. So you would need a self-hosted to be able to rebrand the external user login page. We can do advanced automation, so we have access to the source code, and within a business process we can run PHP. So it may be that for your specific automation requirements, we need to use the source code feature to run those advanced automations. We can also customize pages and create new dashboards. So if we just go back into the self-hosted edition, here we have access to the control area. And what we can do is we can edit sections, we can edit pages and create brand new pages in the system. So if you're wanting to be able to really customize the pages within your Bitrix24 system, then a self-hosted edition would be a very advantageous system and solution to look at. So this will give you the ability to actually edit and customize the pages within your Bitrix24 system. And we can also build dashboards as well. So if there are certain maybe pieces of information you want to pull from your tasks and projects, then we have the ability to build brand new dashboards in the system. There is also a task and project management area where this gives us an overview of all of the different projects that are currently being worked on. So for example, here I can see all of the different tasks that are being worked on. I might want to see who's involved in those different tasks, so we can use the involvement tab to see who is working on any specific tasks in the system. And there is also a reporting tool. So what this report wizard allows you to do is build your very own reports from scratch. So for example, you can give the report a name, you can give the report a description, and then further down here, what you can do is you can then choose what time range you want to have for the report. So it may be a report based on last month's information. And you can then select what information is going to be added to this report. So you can select what columns and details are added into this report. And we can then create filters as well. So I can select, maybe I want to filter on certain types of tasks, or maybe on certain projects. So you can customize the filters on those reports. And to give it a more of a visual feel, you can add different types of charts, from a line chart to a bar chart or a pie chart. And you can then share this. So it could be actually just the report for your own use, or you might want to share it with certain people or departments or project groups. You can customize who's able to access that report in the system. Okay, so that's a look at the different ways we can create projects in the system. So we've looked at the different perfect project management features and task overviews in the Bitrix24 system. Here are a selection of future webinars that will be coming up on the information here. And just moving on to a summary of the Perfect Project Management webinar today, we've looked at how we can manage projects within groups and how we can bring people into those projects and customize what features are either turned on or turned off for different projects that we create. We've looked at how we can manage tasks inside a project and use the automation tools to actually streamline and efficiate any activity at certain stages of a task. We've seen how we can collaborate with all of the members of our project team through instant messaging, through video calls and telephony. And we've looked at how we can actually automate the creation of projects using the business processes to actually streamline the creation of projects. And we just had a look there at the different reporting features, looking in the task and project management module. Okay, so thank you for joining today. I hope you found the Perfect Project Management webinar useful, and I hope you'll be able to join us on future webinars as well. Bye for now.